Leo, welcome to your weekly tarot reading for May the 23rd to the 29th. Let's get started and see what messages we have for you moving forward in your week. Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Let's get started. What guidance will we have for Leo this week? Oh, what was that? Ooh, 10 of Cups in reverse, but that's okay. Let's see here. Page of Swords. The cards are really flippy. Justice in reverse. And the Eight of Swords. Okay, what's on the bottom of the deck? Temperance in reverse on the bottom of the deck. Okay, interesting, Leo. Okay, so this ten of Cups that's in reverse here for you, that is kind of signaling to me that there is an ending. That you've reached the end of something here because it was not harmonious. There may have been a lot of miscommunications or struggles, unrealistic expectations, not feeling worthy. There may have even been a delay in things here. I feel like something has come to a close for you emotionally. You're at the place where things are starting to wind down. The miscommunications are starting to become too much. Things are coming to a close here. You might be feeling restless as a result, and that you're trying to figure things out. You might be looking for information. You might be trying to sort of form a new idea or sort of like understand the reason why, like trying to understand the reason why this connection took a turn. What happened? What is the idea here that you need to understand? This almost feels like you're having something shifted emotionally in a relationship, and now you're trying to discover through using your logic and your discernment and your reasoning, why did this happen? What is the reason? How can I discover the reason? You might be having conversations. You might be talking to people about this. It's interesting. Now, seeing the Justice card in reverse is very intriguing alongside with this storyline, because it kind of makes me wonder if you're looking at it from one-sided perspective, which is something that we do sometimes. From time to time, we tend to sort of look at things one way. It's an imbalanced way of looking at a situation. And you may need to take responsibility for something here. There may have been a miscommunication or a disharmony in a relationship, and you may be sort of searching for the reason and discovering that you had a role in this too. It always takes two to tango in a relationship, doesn't it? Such a cheesy expression, but it's very true. And we always need to take responsibility for, well, you don't have to, I suppose. It's a choice. But if you don't take responsibility, I find that things tend to happen over and over again until you eventually do. And so it's interesting. It's almost like your karma is a delightful motivation for you right now. It's very interesting. This could be a time where it's important for you to learn from your past experience here. You're needing to learn from this experience, whether or not it was very recent or in the past. That'll differ for you depending on, it's a general reading. But I feel like you're afraid when I see this Eight of Swords. There is a fear here. There is a fear of outcome. You might be afraid to take responsibility for your actions here. You might not want to face the consequences. You might not want to face the music, as they say, right? So this could be a time, my dear Leo, where you're feeling like a victim, and you're sort of narrating stories to yourself to enforce that, instead of sort of just saying, well, I played a role in this too, and that's okay. I love myself, I forgive myself, and I'm going to learn from this, and I'm going to move on, instead of feeling sort of like you can't do that. You can't do that. So maybe you're projecting all of this onto the other person and saying, no, I'm a victim. They did this to me. Like, instead of starting your sentence with I, you're starting your sentence with you, and you're pointing at the other person and saying, hey, you hurt me. And it's like, well, wait a minute. It always, like even in the reversal, you can see that There are two hands, just because this is in reverse doesn't mean it's just one person. And so it's very interesting. And you know what? Even if the other person you were with truly did really take things into another direction, okay, let's just say that that's what happened, you're still not a victim, in the sense of you're only a victim if you call yourself a victim. Instead of this being, I was a victim of someone who never treated me well, it could be, this is the story of how I learned how to love myself. Or this is the story of how I learned to trust my intuition and remove myself from something that doesn't feel like it serves me. And I trusted myself, and now I feel like I've moved past it. You know what I mean? Like, we always have a choice about how we narrate certain stories and which stories we allow to define us. Some people get caught up in being a victim, and then that becomes their story that defines them for however long they choose, right? Like, that could be what's going on here. Now, seeing the Temperance card in reverse on the bottom of the deck says to me that there is an element here of sort of needing to trust things and to accept that sometimes when there is disharmony and when things feel like oil and water, that we need to just trust that that means it's not for us. That means that this is not serving us. This isn't where we can be authentic. This connection wasn't for you. And it doesn't mean that you or the other person is bad or good. It just means not right for each other, right? And it doesn't have to be bigger than that. It doesn't have to be bigger than that. There is a need here to sort of be patient and to trust things. I feel like you're sitting in a space where you feel polarized right now. And it's interesting because there's the Two of Swords, which can feel very polarized as well, behind Temperance. So it's very interesting what's going on here for you, Libra. Let's clarify this and see if we can get a little bit more information for Leo. Oh, did I say Libra? I meant Leo. For Leo. Ten of Cups in reverse. Yeah, Tower. This was meant to show you the truth about this relationship. It wasn't for you. It doesn't serve you. There was a lack of balance, a lack of harmony, and now you see the truth about that. And so it's up to you how you're going to tell yourself this story. Page of Swords. Magician, absolutely. How are you going to tell yourself this story? As above, so below. If you call yourself a victim, then guess what? You're a victim. And so this is a reminder as the Magician that you're the architect here. Whatever you hold true in your mind will appear true as far as your perspective goes. So it's very important to watch what we say. We have to be very careful about the stories we keep telling ourselves, because that eventually becomes our grounding of identity. That becomes your I am. And if whatever you put behind that I am, that really has a very powerful impact on your perception going forward. So very interesting, Leo. Let's see, Justice in reverse. There's the Hierophant. So you're really being guided to see this from a higher perspective, to look at this situation almost as how God would look at this situation. How does the universe view this situation? I'll bet you this was a lesson of some kind. This was designed to teach you something. Again, I'll ask the question that can sometimes be triggering, but if you weren't taking this situation so personally, what would this experience be teaching you about yourself? Is ultimately sometimes the lesson here, not good or bad, fair, not fair. That's over here on the ground level. Seeing the Hierophant tells me, and seeing the Magician tells me that you're needing to look at this from a higher perspective, not a better perspective, a higher perspective. Just like if you were an eagle and you were flying over a forest fire, you would be able to see the landscape much clearer to understand, oh, I can see the fire trucks coming, I can see the helicopters in the distance bringing in the water, everything's going to be fine. As opposed to if you were on the forest floor and you were experiencing the fire from the ground level, it would feel like an emergency situation. But as you go higher and higher, you can see what's happening, right? You can see the whole picture. Very interesting. The Eight of Swords is being clarified by the Two of Swords. Yeah, so it's like overthinking and fearing outcomes. You got a choice to make. You either take the high road to understand this from a bigger perspective, a higher perspective, or you sort of continue to see this one way. We're seeing the Two of Swords coming out twice here, hiding behind the Temperance card on the bottom of the deck, as well as clarifying the Eight of Swords. So it's almost like instead of fearing the outcomes and fearing the consequences, your job is to just sort of see this as you are sitting in a time of being polarized, right? And it's time to take the blindfold off, soar like the eagle, and see this from a higher perspective. There's the Page of Swords again. You've got 2 pages of swords, both upright, which are calling you to tell this story to yourself in a different way. That seems to be the point of this reading for you, is to examine how you're narrating this to yourself. What is your I am statement when you think about this story? I think is the point of this reading for you, Leo. I'm going to leave it at that for you. Thank you so much for joining me for this reading. If it's resonated for you, please consider subscribing, liking, commenting, and sharing. I always love to hear how these readings resonate for folks. If you want to leave a comment below, I'm always interested to hear about your current events and how it relates to the reading. Okay, I'm sending you so much love and light, my friends. Have a great week. Take care.